February 4th, 2016, Martin Shkreli sits before Congress smirking at representatives investigating why he raised a life-saving AIDS drug by 5,456% overnight. When begged to consider dying patients, he just keeps smirking. Hours later, he tweets, "Hard to accept that these imbeciles represent the people in our government." This is the story of how a hedge fund brat in a hoodie became the most hated man in America, and why his fanboys still think he was a hero. So picture this: Martin Shkreli wants you to believe he was Robin Hood, stealing from greedy insurance companies to fund rare disease research while secretly giving AIDS drugs away for $1. A misunderstood genius exposing pharmaceutical corruption who got scapegoated by the establishment. His crypto bro disciples are still preaching this gospel on Twitter. Joe Rogan adjacent podcasters believe him a brilliant provocateur. Since his prison release, he's gained a whole new generation of followers who think Pharma Bro was framed. Here's the problem with that narrative. We have the receipts, the internal emails, the court documents, congressional testimony, patient records, and I'm sorry, but they paint a very different picture of Martin Shkreli. I'm Andy Roberts, and today on The Fine Print we are examining how a 32-year-old with a Wu-Tang album and a god complex turned a 62-year-old AIDS drug into a weapon of mass extortion. Buckle up, because this one's a bloody roller coaster. August 10th, 2015. Turing Pharmaceuticals acquires Daraprim from Impax Laboratories for $55 million. Daraprim isn't just any drug. It is the only FDA-approved treatment for toxoplasmosis, a parasitic infection that can kill AIDS patients, organ transplant recipients, and babies. Invented in the 1950s by Nobel Prize winner Gertrude Leon, it's on the World Health Organization's list of essential medicines. Here's what Daraprim cost around the world in 2015. India, 4 cents per pill. In the UK, 66 pence per pill. The USA, pre-Shkreli, $13.50 per pill. Overnight, Shkreli changed that last number to $750. That's a 5,456% increase. The annual treatment cost just jumped from roughly $1,400 to between $336,000 and $634,500 per patient. Around 2,000 Americans need this drug every year just to stay alive. But here's what makes this truly diabolical. Shkreli didn't just raise the price, he built a moat around his monopoly. Turing immediately switched Daraprim from open distribution to a closed system called Daraprim Direct, available only through a single specialty pharmacy. This wasn't about efficiency, this was about preventing generic drug manufacturers from obtaining samples needed for FDA bioequivalence testing. Internal retrofin presentations obtained by Congress showed this was a deliberate strategy to block generic competition. The FDA requires generic manufacturers to prove their drugs are equivalent to the brand name. But if they can't get the brand name drug to test against, no generic can ever be approved. It's like buying the only bridge to an island and then charging whatever you want for crossing while making it illegal for anyone else to build a boat. The Senate's Aging Committee identified this as a 5-step monopoly business model. Identify older sole-source drugs. Ensure no substitute exists. Select drugs servicing small populations, less public outcry. Implement closed distribution, preventing generic competition. And then execute dramatic price increases. To be fair, Shkreli didn't invent this playbook, but he executed it with a sociopathic efficiency that would make Gordon Gekko blush. Before we get into the main event, you need to understand that Martin Shkreli didn't wake up one day and decide to be a villain. He's been practicing. In 2014, at his previous company, Retrofin, Shkreli raised the price of Thiola, a drug for a rare kidney disease, from $1.50 to $30 per pill. That's a 2,000% increase. Patients need 10 to 15 pills a day, meaning annual costs jumped to $87,600. When board member Timothy Peretti objected, Shkreli sent this letter to Peretti's wife. "Your husband just stole $1.6 million from me. I hope to see you and your 4 children homeless, and will do whatever I can to assure this." He hacked their social media accounts, changed their passwords, posted legal documents on their Facebook. On Christmas Day, he sent a LinkedIn message that just said, "Scumbag, Martin Shkreli." This is who Martin Shkreli already was when he founded Turing Pharmaceuticals in February 2015. Now let's demolish Shkreli's Robin Hood defense with actual evidence. His claim, "I'm like Robin Hood, I'm taking Walmart's money and doing research for diseases no one cares about." Insurance companies would pay $750 while patients get the drug for $1 through patient assistance programs. Well, let me tell you what actually happened to actual patients. Alright, so this is patient story number 1. The kidney transplant trap. Dr. Wendy Armstrong at Emory University had a kidney transplant patient who'd successfully beaten toxoplasmosis. 4 months of treatment, ready for discharge to a rehabilitation facility. Instead, she spent months trapped in that hospital bed, not for medical reasons, because no rehab facility in Georgia would accept her. They couldn't afford $750 per pill for Daraprim. She developed additional complications. Preventable complications that only happened because Martin Shkreli priced her out of proper care. August 2015, before the price hike, there's 25,500 Daraprim pills sold. December 2015, after the price hike, 600 pills sold. That's a 96% collapse in the number of pills distributed. That's not patients getting affordable access, that's just patients going without medicine. Congressional investigators obtained 250,000 pages of documents from Turing. Here's what Turing employees actually wrote about their assistance program. "We are blowing through copay dollars very fast. We can't afford to give free drug to commercially insured patients." Despite all of those documents, investigators found 0 verified statistics on how many patients actually received free drugs through the mythical $1 program. If this is making your blood boil, don't worry, you're not alone. Hit that like button if you think healthcare shouldn't be a hostage situation, and subscribe for more videos on corporate greed dressed up as genius just like this one, because Shkreli's playbook is still being used today. Abandoned patients. Georgia's AIDS drug assistance program, the safety net for low-income HIV patients, removed Daraprim from its formulary entirely. These aren't insurance companies. These are the programs that keep poor people with AIDS alive. Multiple state programs reported similar crises. Hospitals documented failed attempts to obtain medication for uninsured patients through Turing's assistance program. Grady Memorial Hospital in Atlanta. Before Shkreli, $50,310 for 66 admissions. After Shkreli, over $1 million for 61 admissions. That's not insurance company money from the sky. That's money that could have hired nurses, bought ventilators, and saved lives. Every dollar stolen by Shkreli's greed was a dollar not spent on actual healthcare. But surely he was using these profits for research, right? Let's check what Shkreli actually wrote in August 2015. $1 billion, here we come! So 5,000 paying bottles at the new price is $375 million. Almost all of it is profit. Medical experts were bewildered by the research excuse. Dr. Wendy Armstrong said, "This is not an infection where we have been looking for more effective drugs." Dr. Carlos Del Rio said, "It's not a patient population that is clamoring for a better drug." Dr. David Railman said, "No significant drug resistance problems with toxoplasmosis." The medical journal asked the obvious question. Did Turing employ any scientists? Did they have a laboratory? They didn't. What they did have, though, is yacht parties, fireworks, 6-figure executive raises, and a crisis PR consultant. 0 FDA-approved drugs resulted from Daraprim revenues before Turing went bankrupt in 2023. February 4th, 2016, Shkreli is subpoenaed to testify before the House Oversight Committee about the Daraprim price hike. Throughout the hearing, he smirked, twiddled a pencil, looked away, literally turned his back to pose for photographers while members were speaking. In response to nearly every question, he just said, "On the advice of counsel, I invoke my Fifth Amendment privilege against self-incrimination and respectfully decline to answer your question." The only actual answer he gave was when Rep. Trey Gowdy asked if he was pronouncing Shkreli correctly. He said yes. Gowdy pounced and said, "See? You can answer some questions." Then came Rep. Elijah Cumming with an emotional plea. "I know you're smiling, but I'm very serious, sir. It's not funny. Mr. Shkreli, people are dying and they're getting sicker and sicker. You could go down in history as the poster boy for greedy pharmaceutical executives, or you could change the system. Shkreli just kept smirking. Within minutes of leaving, he tweeted, "Well, it's hard to accept that these imbeciles represent the people in our government." His lawyer called it nervous energy. Sure, that's what we're calling contempt for dying patients. While Shkreli was playing pharmaceutical monopolist, he was also committing actual crimes. His hedge fund MSMB Capital claimed to have $35 million in assets. It actually had less than $700. He told investors the fund returned 35.7% profit. It had actually lost 18. On February 1st, 2011, MSMB executed a catastrophic trade, shorting 32 million shares of Oxygen. The trade failed. Merrill Lynch lost $7 million covering it. MSMB's assets collapsed from 1.12 million to 58,500 in a single month. Caroline Stewart, who worked next to Shkreli, described the aftermath. It was like somebody had died. He was slumped in his chair, his hoodie up, depressed in a way I'd never seen before. But 2 months later, Shkreli emailed investors claiming an 8.93% profit and 42.57% returns since inception. Complete fabrication. When investors demanded their money back, he used his new company Retrofin as a piggy bank, stealing over $10 million through fake consulting agreements to pay off defrauded hedge fund investors. Lead prosecutor Jacqueline Kasoulis nailed it. If you rob a bank, then you rob another bank to pay back the first bank, you still robbed the first bank. August 4th, 2017, guilty on 3 counts of security frauds. March 9th, 2018, sentenced to 7 years in federal prison. Okay, so this story wouldn't be complete without the most bizarre flex in corporate criminal history. May 2015, Shkreli pays $2 million for Once Upon a Time in Shaolin, the only copy of a Wu-Tang Clan album that can't be commercially released until 2103. When Bloomberg revealed he was the buyer after the Daraprim scandal, RZA immediately distanced the group. The sale was agreed upon in May, well before Martin Shkreli's business practices came to light. But Shkreli couldn't help himself. After Ghostface Killah called him a shithead, Shkreli released a video flanked by masked goons. "Dennis, I'm gonna call you by your government name, you're not a Ghostface Killah. Most people don't try to beef with me. You know why? Nobody's that dumb." Ghostface's mother appeared in the response video. "You wicked boy, how was you raised?"
You wicked boy! You wicked boy! How was you raised?
After his conviction, Shkreli tried selling it on eBay with the note, "At any time I may cancel this sale and I may even break this album in frustration." March 2018, the album was seized from his $7.36 million forfeiture order. July 2021, the government sold it to Pleasure Dao, I don't even know how that's pronounced, for $4 million. But here's the kicker. June 2024, Pleasure Dao sued Shkreli because he kept copies. When confronted, he responded, "Lol, I have the MP3s, you moron." A federal judge ordered him to surrender all copies. He claimed he burnt the album and sent it to like 50 different chicks. The case is still ongoing as of 2025. Okay, just in case this one couldn't get any weirder, here we go. I did warn you at the beginning of this video it was going to be a roller coaster, but we are now in September 2017. While out on bail awaiting sentencing, Shkreli posts on Facebook offering $5,000 for a strand of Hillary Clinton's hair with follicle from her book tour. The Secret Services was not amused. Judge Matsumoto revoked his bail immediately, calling it solicitation to assault. Shkreli was sent to Metropolitan Detention Center to await sentencing. He claimed it was just satire. The judge disagreed. The man who'd spent 2 years trolling America finally found the line, and it was apparently Hillary Clinton's hair. Even federal prison couldn't stop Martin Shkreli. On March 2019, the Wall Street Journal reports he's running his old company from prison using a contraband cell phone, including firing executives from his cell at Fort Dix. He was thrown into solitary confinement. April 2020, he requests compassionate release, claiming he could develop a COVID-19 cure. Judge Matsumoto's response: delusional, self-aggrandizing behavior. He served roughly 5 years of his 7-year sentence before release to a halfway house in May 2022. So while Shkreli was in prison, the law finally caught up with the whole Daraprim scheme. January 2022, federal judge Denise Cote reviewed all evidence and delivered a very thorough 135-page decision. Her verdict? Shkreli's conduct was egregious, deliberate, repetitive, long-running, and ultimately dangerous. The punishment? A lifetime ban from the pharmaceutical industry. The ban itself is fairly comprehensive. It excludes Shkreli from virtually any role in virtually any part of the entire pharmaceutical industry. His lawyers argued it could even bar him from being a Walgreens cashier. January 2014, appeals court unanimously upheld the ban. October 2024, Supreme Court declined to hear his appeal. The lifetime ban is permanent, full stop. 2 months after release, Shkreli was back with a new scheme. In July 2022, he launches Drug-like, a Web3 drug discovery software platform. He insists it is not pharmaceutical, I promise. It's just software that happens to discover pharmaceuticals. April 2023, he launches Dr. Gupta AI, a medical chatbot that he claims will make doctors obsolete. I envision a future where our children ask what physicians were like. The FTC is investigating both for violating his lifetime ban, but the real money was in crypto. June 24, Shkreli claims he created the DJT token with Baron Trump. The token surged 385% on Trump association rumors. August 24, the token crashes 90% when a large holder dumps $2 million worth. No Trump family member ever confirmed involvement. He also launched Martin Shkreli Inu MSI token, which crashed 90% in one day after a wallet linked to him dumped holdings. He claimed he was hacked by a file named Jasmine. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Shkreli wasn't unique. Valiant Pharmaceuticals raised drug prices over 3,000%. Isuprel up 536%. Nitropress up 236%. Their CEO sat next to Shkreli at that congressional hearing. Mylan raised EpiPen prices 548% over 7 years, affecting millions of American families. Insulin manufacturers Eli Lilly, Novo Nordisk, Sanofi raised prices 1,200% over 2 decades. People literally died rationing insulin. The pharmaceutical industry immediately threw Shkreli under the bus. Pharma declared he doesn't represent our values while keeping companies doing the exact same thing as members. The Biotechnology Innovation Organization expelled Turing while retaining members with identical strategies. Martin Shkreli became the most hated man in America, not because he was uniquely evil. He became the most hated man because he had the audacity to smirk while doing it. So was Martin Shkreli a villain? Absolutely. He caused documented harm to vulnerable patients. Real people suffered extended hospitalization, developed preventable complications, lost access to life-saving medication. He committed systematic fraud, running hedge funds like Ponzi schemes, stealing millions from Retrofin shareholders, threatening employees' families. He showed zero remorse even after prison. He's violating court orders, keeping illegal Wu-Tang copies, launching crypto scams, trying to circumvent his lifetime ban. Judge Denise Cote reviewed all the evidence, the emails, the patient records, the congressional testimonies, the internal documents. Her conclusion? After 135 pages, egregious, deliberate, repetitive, long-running, and ultimately dangerous. But was he a scapegoat? Also, yes. The pharmaceutical industry needed a villain with a face, and Martin Shkreli, young, arrogant, terminally online, was perfect. While we were all focused on the Pharma Bro in the hoodie, companies in suits kept doing the same thing at a larger scale. The insulin price increases affected millions versus Daraprim's 2,000 patients. Where's their lifetime ban? Where's their 7-year sentence? Martin Shkreli claimed he was Robin Hood. The evidence proves he was just another sheriff of Nottingham. It's just he wore a hoodie instead of a badge. 160 medical organizations demanded he reverse the price. Patients were trapped in hospitals, state AIDS programs dropped coverage, sales collapsed 96%. The money went to yacht parties, not research. His own blasted emails say it. Almost all of it profit. The most damning thing about Martin Shkreli isn't that he was exceptionally evil, it's that he was ordinarily evil in an industry full of Martin Shkrelis. He just had the stupidity to smirk about it. When Rep. Elijah Cummings begged him to consider dying patients, when he said people are dying and getting sicker, Shkreli kept smirking. That image, that smirk, is why he'll forever be the poster boy for pharmaceutical greed. Not because he was the worst, he wasn't by a long shot, because he was the most honest about what he was doing. If you want to see how another brilliant entrepreneur built a house of cards on pure bullshit, then check out this video right here on Nikola. Someone made a fake Tesla and managed to get $30 billion in investment whilst exploiting people in lockdown from COVID. Click this video right there and I will see you over there. And remember, when someone claims that they're disrupting healthcare for the greater good, check if they actually have a laboratory first. I'm Andy Roberts, this is The Fine Print, and stay skeptical.